this location is actually so much more exciting for me. Oh, I feel like I'm like a librarian. What do you reckon?
Librarian.
What was that? Sexy librarian?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. You love Luna, do you?
What's this one called?
The gear stick.
What's this one called?
Gear stick.
Daddy's arm.
Is that Daddy's arm, is it?
Yeah.
That's a good name for it.
And Mommy. Oh, Daddy.
You want to hold Daddy while he's driving. I love it when you hold Daddy's arm when you're driving.
Puppy over there and all the cows over there. Little puppy.
Is there a little puppy?
Also, 100% should not have hung that up.
Oh, it's just like flying everywhere. I think we already have a rule in the van that Mummy doesn't get to decide where things go in the back of the van.
Bump!
Oh.
Cracking!
Cracking just seems so aggressive.
I know, it's too aggressive.
If we fall over, we just bump our head.
Yeah, we bump it.
We don't need to crack it.
No, yeah, well that's a Humpty Dumpty, isn't it? And he only cracks it because he's an egg. Like your mummy.
Are we going to the mountain right now? Where are we going? We're going to go to the park. Oh, that is a park. That's not the park we're going to, but we're going to the big park. And we're going to show everyone Luna. Do you need some help, Chuk Chuk? Yeah, Nanny did buy those glasses for Atlas.
This one, Mummy's one.
These are Mummy's glasses. These are for Mummy to drive at night time because she can't, the lights go into my eyes funny at night time. So I have glasses just to drive at night.
The one that Mommy glasses on.
You want Mummy to wear them too?
Yeah.
Ooh, I feel like I'm like a librarian. What do you reckon?
Librarian.
What was that? Sexy librarian?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah, this is one of our little fave local parks, isn't it? It's more like farmland, middle of the city.
Where did the birdie go? It's back. I need a clock. I need a clock.
You need your truck. You're gonna come up and get it? Good morning, beautiful humans. Okay, so today's video may be coming to you from somewhere slightly less beautiful than my friend's coasters that I did the last video from in Cairns, but guys, this location is actually so much more exciting for me. You know how I was telling you guys about the van that I seem to like magically have manifested while I was in my friend's coaster? This is her. I feel like I'm still kind of at a loss for words, which is surprising for me, about how she came into our life. Like, I was just so focused for like 6 months searching for a van, and literally like the second that I let go, she just came to me at a time when I was just in a state of excitement. And I think that's always the way, isn't it, that we feel like we're focusing on something that we want to bring about, and it can often put us in quite a negative headspace. And the second that we let go of that and allow ourselves to be happy and joyful, that the things that we want, they seem to magically come to us. So as I said last time in the video, she was down in Melbourne, and so how that eventuated was my dad, and I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but my dad's actually over from South Africa at the moment, and I said to him, how would he feel about flying down to Melbourne with me and doing a road trip back, because Patrick was working, the van only had 2 seats in it, so I wouldn't be able to take Atlas down with me and try and drive 24 hours on my own with Atlas. Also, like, to be fair, doing a ride that long, even if we had have had 3 seats, oh guys, check out who's outside. Oh, he's so beautiful. So I think, like, there's no way that I would have wanted to have done a 24-hour straight trip with Atlas in the car. Like, no. I know you guys who have children are just like, yeah, no. So my dad said yes, and we flew down to Melbourne at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And the thing with me and my dad is, my dad worked a lot when I was young, and my parents split up when I was 6, and my dad owned restaurants, and I know anyone who really knows the hospitality life is like, it's not really conducive to family life. So me and my dad didn't really have a very, I want to say it was a good relationship, but it wasn't a very what word could I use? It was quite a superficial relationship. It wasn't very deep because we didn't really spend a lot of time together. And when I was, I think I was about 18 or 19, I started working in the restaurants. That's when me and my brother and we got to develop a lot more, like, a stronger relationship with my dad, because we spent a lot of time together. It was a really beautiful time in our lives. And then when I was 23, my sister passed away. She passed to the non-physical, and it put, as anyone can imagine who's been through anything similar, it put a humongous strain on our family, and different people in our family dealt with it in very different ways. And me and my brother flew, like, we went and traveled. That's what we did, and other people dealt with it in different ways. But what ended up happening for my dad is he needed to move away from this space, and he ended up going and living in South Africa. And so he's been in South Africa now for 3 years, and he had to come back to get his passport done, but he also hadn't met Atlas, and so he really wanted to spend some time with him. And I don't know about you guys, but Patrick and I, we live in this like little container where it's me and Atlas and him, and we really protect that space, and like, we love hanging out with all our friends and family, but we also really love time to ourselves. And so when Dad was saying that he was coming over for an unlimited time, we were like, oh, like a little bit, I guess, apprehensive, because having anyone live in your house for that long is like, I mean, even if my best friend lived with us for a couple of months, I'd be like, initially I'd be like, oh, don't know how that's gonna go. Anyway, Dad's been over for months now, and it has been, it's been amazing. It's been really nice, and it's been so nice. As he was saying the other day, it's like we haven't lived together since I was like 6, and even then he worked such long hours that I don't really remember having him around. And so it's been a really beautiful time for us and our family. And driving down, I get where I was going with all of this, is that driving down to Melbourne, like, we were in a car for a couple of days in the end, and we literally just sung a lot of road trip music together. But we also spent a lot of time telling stories, and I think that is a really beautiful thing in like families or friendships, is that space to be able to tell stories. And I think that we miss that a lot in like superficial relationships. We talk a lot about the now, and don't get me wrong, like, I think that living in the present is like incredibly powerful, but I think that there's also something really powerful, especially with people who have been throughout your life, to like anchor into memories every now and then, to I think the thing with that it does for me is it helps me to understand people better, and helps me to, I guess, I don't know, it's kind of your part of your history and your life. Like, I enjoy listening to stories. I love listening to stories. I love listening to other people's stories. I would love to hear in the comments, actually, like, is that something that you love hearing, or do you very much feel like the conversations that we have should really exist in the now and the future, or just the now? Like, that's actually something that I find really interesting. I just realized we're kind of those people that we don't really have any photos up in our house, and so we try to, while we're in our home, be thinking about the present. Okay, now I'm getting off on crazy tangents. So yeah, anyway, the trip was amazing. One of the things that my family have found quite interesting is that when I went to pick our van up, I met the guy who I was speaking to, his wife, and she was so beautiful. Like, she was a lovely, lovely woman, and I just instantly handed her the money and went to get in the van, and she was just like, I love how committed you are to this. And I told her about what we were doing, and it wasn't until we drove out of the house that I realized, like, I never took it for a test drive. I never looked under the bonnet. Not that I would know what I was looking for under the bonnet, but like, I didn't look at anything. I just saw her and I was like, you're exactly, like, I just felt it. I was like, you are our one. But when we got in to drive away, me and my dad, neither of us have driven manual in like forever, so we literally like stalled her. I don't know if we quite stalled her, but pretty much like the whole way out of the street, and she didn't have any petrol in her, so we had to get petrol. We got to the petrol station, and I don't know if any of you guys or many of you have Mercedes, but we got to the petrol station. I did 3 laps around the van and I was like, oh, where is the petrol pump? Like, I have no idea. And I quickly sent a message out on my social media waiting for someone to tell me, but then I was like, oh my god, I can actually use Google too. So I quickly Googled it, and the pump is kind of like hidden in the side of the door. So anyway, we found the pump. But driving, so I didn't know this about vans, and I've never driven a van before, but we drove back during like some crazy weather. There was like ice on the roads. It was really, really cold. But one of the things that I hadn't realized is the impact of wind on a van. So as we're driving, we could literally feel the van moving like side to side like this, and we drove through this humongous storm, and in the middle of it, one of the windscreen blades like got taken off the car. So we had to stop in at a mechanic who, he was so lovely, he just quickly fixed it for us. It was like a non-issue. But by the time that we got, so what we ended up doing is we drove until 3 in the morning, and we thought that we weren't going to be driving till 12, but it turns out that I'm quite an anxious driver at night time. It's not something that I often do, and so I was driving quite slowly, so we pulled up and stayed the night. And that was actually a really beautiful experience for me as well, because I saw how my dad responded to me when anxiety came up, and I don't think that that's probably anything that he's ever really seen in me. And I also was able to ask for help. So as soon as I kind of was like, this is getting too much for me with driving, I asked, he said, okay, I can drive now, even though he'd been driving for quite a long time. And I was like, okay, I'll fully receive that. And asking for help has been something in my life that has been really, really challenging. So that was a really beautiful thing for me to see. When we woke up the next morning, so I think we went to bed at like 3, woke up at like 8, and I was so exhausted. Like, I thought that breastfeeding a toddler for the last 2 years was exhausting. This is like, was next level. And I remember waking up in the bed, and I kind of just looked at the roof, and I was like, although I know that I'm excited about this van, this was in no way the way that I was anticipating spending my first night away from Atlas. Like, I seriously had daydreamed during some of our night feeds about like what it would look like the first night that I stayed away from him, and I imagined like this beautiful hotel room with like a king-size bed. Sorry Pat, but I'm like totally by myself, and I've got room service, and I sleep, and I get a massage, and driving the van overnight was none of those things at all. But we got home, and that's the main thing. We made it, and it was a really beautiful thing for my my dad and my relationship, and I really love that. It's something that's really, really special, and even when I got home, Dad was like, this is going down in the memory books, and that was something that was really beautiful for me. So the trip was amazing, and when I look back on it now, I was like, of course she was in Melbourne. Like, she was always going to be in Melbourne. She was always going to be far away because she was going to bring about this trip for me and my dad, which was incredibly powerful. On that note, how good am I just sitting around talking, telling stories, hey? Like, I love it. But what I thought that I would do today is take you guys for a little bit of a trip around Luna. How I had anticipated this going down is we were staying at Stanthorpe this weekend, and I, in my head, was like, oh yeah, we'll have a drone by then, but it'll take some beautiful footage, and we don't have a drone, of course. And we got to Stanthorpe last night, not last night, sorry, the night before, and there were like wild bushfires, and I've never seen a bushfire before, and it was quite confronting. But then my family, like, we were all together, and we'd been told that it was quite at bay. But the next morning when we woke up, they're like, you should evacuate the town. And everyone kind of went into this stress mode, and I was like, okay, so we evacuate, but let's not just like evacuate straight home. Everyone's like, let's go, we need to go home right now. And I was like, this is not going to be, like, we'd planned this beautiful like weekend out in nature, and if we all run home right now, like, what have we actually given ourselves to feed our soul? And it was my mum's birthday, so I was like, hey mum, like, let's actually do something where we don't just rush home in this stress state. Let's actually go out. And so we found a bushwalk kind of on the way home, and there was beautiful waterfalls, and so we did that all together as a family, and it was so lovely. Like, it was Queen Mary Falls, for anyone who's like around Brizzy sort of area. It was absolutely beautiful, and the walk was beautiful. Atlas could do it, my family, like my mum and my aunties could do it, so it was like an easy walk, but it was also incredibly beautiful, so it was really special for us. Anyway, we got home, and I was saying to Pat, I was like, oh, I was really hoping like to do a video, because like I finally got the camera all sorted out, and we're like, let's just go hang out at the park in a nice space, and we can do it from Luna. Like, that's what we want to share. Oh, Luna is our van's name, and it's a funny one because not that long ago, Patrick and I had been saying how much we liked the name Luna for a girl's name, for a baby, and then next minute we have a van, and I was like, babe, do you know the feeling that I get when I look at this van? And I was like, it's so similar to the same feeling that I get when I see a full moon or a really, really clear moon, and that is of like pure awe and excitement, and also adventure. I've always been someone who's been really, really connected or attracted to the moon. In fact, moon was one of Atlas's first words, and he is always searching for the moon. Like, he's usually the first one during the day who spots if a moon is up in the sky, and it can be the tiniest little slither, and he's like, mama, mama, moon. And so it was always going to be Luna. And it was really funny because just after, I was like, babe, I think she's Luna, and he's like, yes, she is. I started following someone else on Instagram who has a van, and then his name's Luna, maybe it's a bus, and I was like, okay girl, there's nothing original about this name, but it was just really right for us. And so yeah, without further ado, guys, this is Luna. She is a 2001 Mercedes Sprinter, high top, clearly, and she had about 180,000 Ks on her clock. And inside it was pretty, like, I mean, we have got lots of stuff here which I'll explain in a sec. It's pretty, you know, clean. She was an old fruit truck, and what we've done is we've chucked a mattress in the bottom just for now. We've got a bit of a couch going, we've got the hiking pack, carrier, and also Alice's new Tonka trucks, which do not talk to me about. His grandmother bought him and he's obsessed by. So pretty much where the line is here, I think that's going to be bedroom back there, and then we're going to have a big awning window here, and the height of this blue line is going to be bench top. We're going to put a wall in here, I think at the moment is what we're thinking, and a pull-out kitchen straight out of this door, because Pat is the one in our family who loves to cook, and that's what he would like. He would like an outside kitchen. So that's what we're going to do. So this is actually a great story. So the weekend that we got Luna, my uncle actually got a Mercedes Sprinter as well, coincidentally, or not coincidentally. And he had a 3-seater Sprinter but wanted a 2-seater Sprinter, and we had a 2-seater Sprinter and wanted a 3-seater Sprinter. So he actually gave us their middle seat, and so we've just put that in between us, so it almost looks like we're a bench seat here, but it's actually not a bench. Sorry for the dirty floor. That's kind of what the base of it looks like there. And what happens in Australia anyway is that once an extra seat is put in a car, it needs to get compliance checked, and that's what, to get the compliance plate, that's the expensive part. And so we were like, oh, okay, like, you know, whatever, we have to accept it, we've got a son, we need another seat. Anyway, so we put it into the mechanic to get it, we put my uncle's and my car into the mechanic, got the seat put in, and when we went to pick it up, it was like only a couple of $100, and I was like, oh, what about like the compliance plate and everything? And they're like, your car was actually already complied to be a 3-seater, and so it was already done. So that was awesome. So pretty much the only work that we've had done on her so far is getting the new seat. Our next step is getting a big skylight for the roof, and getting all the windows. We're going to get those installed, and then we're going to strip her back and insulate her, and then we're actually going to get someone else to do a lot of the carpentry work, because we are shocking with tools. I mean, Patrick's okay. So there's something that we're like, we could pretty much get a divorce. We're not even married. We could split up over this, or we could get a carpenter. And so we're getting a carpenter. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're up to at the journey with her. We're starting to go away traveling, which is a really fun thing. We haven't gone and stayed overnight in her yet because it can get quite hot here, and we can't leave any windows open just yet. So as soon as the windows are in, we're ready to start going away with our little esky and our mattress in the back. It just like, it feels like such an exciting time for us at the moment, because like I've just dreamt about this for such a long time, like a couple of years, as long as Alice has been alive, and to see it all falling into place just feels really incredible. And it's always such a beautiful thing for me too, like getting the van. It was like definitely something that I led, and I was like the force to be reckoned with, and it's so beautiful for me to see like Patrick love this van, and he talks about it with such excitement now. And I think about all that time, like for the last 2 years, of me being the one leading it and feeling like, how do I get him to see the vision that I see? And I didn't have to be focused on it, because by leading the vision, he was naturally seeing it. And so now here we're at a place where I was just like, did the scary part. I just committed. I was like, we're buying this van. I feel it. And I just led the charge, and knowing that it would work out. And it did. And there's something really powerful there, because I'm like, well, if that happened there, where else can it happen in our life? And so now I feel like I'm talking more from a place of conviction of the things that I want to happen in our life. But yeah. Okay guys, I am gonna go find these little monkeys who are out playing. But I hope you guys are having such a beautiful day, and thank you for being with us on this journey. It's incredible. Alright, big love everyone. Mwah.